Alright guys, here we go with online equation solving trig equations quiz. So no, this is not my quiz, this is one of your peers. So good job on one of your peers. Way to go, miss. Alright, here we go. Let's do this one. So it says cosine 8x equals -1. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the inverse. So I'm going to write 8x equals plus minus our cosine of -1 plus 2 pi n. And I guess you don't need the plus minus, but I went ahead and put it in there, guys. Cosine's -1 where? Cosine's -1 right here. So I'm going to write 8x equals plus minus pi plus 2 pi n. And then I'm going to divide everything by 8, divide by 8, divide by 8. So I have x equals plus minus pi over 8 plus, and I'm going to leave it as 2 pi n over 8, guys. And I know I can reduce it to pi over 4, but I'm going to leave it as 2 pi n over 8 because I want to be able to add my common denominator. I want to have a common denominator so I can add them. So one answer for sure is pi over 8. And then remember, I'm between 0 and pi over 2. So let's see, negative pi over 8. Oh, okay. It doesn't matter, guys. I'm a fool. Negative pi over 8 plus 2 pi over 8 gives you back pi over 8. So it doesn't really matter the -1 there. So just take the positive 1 and then just keep adding. Pi over 8 plus 2 pi over 8, that's 3 pi over 8. And then if I were to do another one, 3 pi over 8 plus another 2 pi over 8, that would be 5 pi over 8. But notice, 5/8 is more than a half a pi. So that one's not in there. So it's just these two. So there it is. Oh yeah, this person got it right. I forgot about that. All right. Here's the next one. Cosine 11x equals 0. So I'm going to take the inverse. So I'm going to write 11x equals plus minus arc cosine of 0 plus 2 pi n. Oh, I'm doing the quiz. Oh, where'd you get those from?
Miss,
De Luna?
yes.
Okay. Tell her thank you. Well, okay, now she's already out. So then arc cosine of 0 is pi over 2. So I'm going to leave it as, well, I guess plus minus pi over 2 technically, plus 2 pi n. But it's probably going to be the same situation as before, right? Divide by 11, divide by 11, divide by 11. So I'm going to write x equals plus minus pi over 22 plus 2 pi n over 11. And I'm going to turn that into, I'm just going to double it, times 2 over 2. So 4 pi over 22. So that way I can add them up, guys. And again, let's see, pi and then negative pi plus 4. Okay, so that's going to give us my second one. So this time I do need the plus minus. So one of them is pi over 22 plus 4 pi n over 22. This is a general equation, but notice that your domain is between 0 and 2 pi over 11. Well, 4 pi over 22 is 2 pi n over 11, or 2 pi over 11. So you're not going to add that part. So one answer is pi over 22. But if you take the negative one, negative pi over 22, you're definitely going to add 4 pi over 22. Because remember, 4 pi over 22 is 2 pi over 11. So negative pi plus 4 pi, that is 3 pi over 22. So that one and that one. Oh, sorry. What'd you think of that one? Pretty good? Hey, what's up?
Have you seen Gabby?
What's her last name?
Martinez?
Oh, yeah. She was here a little while ago. She's in Winners. Okay. The next question, it says square root of 3 cotangent x equals 1. And I want all these answers, so I'm going to write cotangent x equals 1 over square root of 3. And I'm just going to use my unit circle on this one, guys. The only way this can happen is your x coordinate. Remember that cotangent is x divided by y in your unit circle. So this will only happen is if x equals a half, and if y equals square root of 3 over 2, or if x equals a negative half, and if y equals a negative square root of 3 over 2. That's the only way it can happen. So on the unit circle, that happens when you are here and there. So what is that coordinate? That coordinate is pi over 3, and this one here is 4 pi over 3. I'm looking between 0 and 2 pi specifically, so pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Cool. All right, let's go to the next one. Secant squared is 1. So what I would do, guys, is just work with cosine. And remember that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. And remember that cosine is the reciprocal of secant. So because of that property there, I can rewrite this as, remember that's 1 over 1. I can rewrite this as cosine squared x equals 1, because the reciprocal of 1 is still 1. So now I'm going to take the square root, and I have cosine x equals plus minus 1. All right, I'm not going to do our cosine of that. Cosine is positive 1 and negative 1 at these two coordinates. And that happens to be 0, pi, and 2 pi. So now we're just looking at the domain, negative pi over 2. So negative pi over 2 is down here, and then pi over 2 is up there. So if I'm going to go clockwise, the only answer is going to be 0. So just 0. And that's it. Let's go to the next one. Ooh, I like these questions, guys. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and move that 5 sine x to the left. So I'm going to write 5 sine x cosine squared x minus 5 sine x equals 0. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out 5 sine x. So here's me factoring out 5 sine x. And what I'm left with is cosine squared x minus 1. And all that still equals 0. So where does sine x equal 0? Well, in the unit circle, sine x is 0 at 0, pi, and 2 pi. Let me look at my domain. Negative 2 pi to 0. So negative 2 pi is right here, guys. And we got to go work our way counterclockwise. Negative 2 pi, negative pi, and 0. So on this one, it's going to be negative 2 pi, negative pi, and 0. Now what about this? Cosine squared equals to 1. So let's see. Cosine x equals plus minus 1. Well, that happens to be in the same coordinates. So 0, negative pi, and 2 pi. So letter C. Cool, right? There's only one person in here, guys. Sorry. All right, here you go. This is the one that I told you that you're going to have to use the double angle property, guys. Sine 2x is equal to 2 sine x cosine x. I think I might have given it to you guys as 2 cosine x sine x. It doesn't matter. They're both the same. So here we go. I'm going to write 2 sine x cosine x equals negative 9 cosine x. Then move that to the left. So I'm going to write 2 sine x cosine x plus 9 cosine x equals 0. And then I'm going to factor out a cosine x. So cosine x factored out. 2 sine x plus 9 equals 0. And then once I did that, now I'm going to set this expression on the inside equal to 0. 2 sine x plus 9 equals 0. 2 sine x equals negative 9. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Sine x will never equal 4.5, negative 4.5. So take that one out of there. You don't. I guess we didn't even have to do that, but that's fine. But this one, it will happen. This one's true. Cosine x will equal 0. On the unit circle, where is cosine x equal to 0? It's equal to 0 at pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2. So we look for those answers. Oh, I got to look at my domain. Negative pi to pi. So here's negative pi. And here's actually pi as well. So it's going to be negative pi over 2 and pi over 2.
So basically the UH ones, you can get the answer like 100% because you can do all of them through a calculator.
You can, yes. Is that the route you want to go?
Yeah, but like on the real test, like there's going to be something right here.
No, this next exam I'm probably going to give you guys a calculator. So, but check it out. I'm doing it right now. So if you're in that same question, go to this question, and maybe you'll figure it out pretty quickly, really fast. So, I'm recording a video right now. No, you're good, miss. All right. So on this one, it's probably always going to be the same one. You probably just have a different number. So what does yours say?
Mine is
Your question 7.
5 sine
5 sine squared equals 5 cosine squared. It's going to be the same as this one. So here it is. This one has 6 and 6. I can take those out. See? So then I have sine squared x equals cosine squared x. Because, and only because, I have a square on it. We do not care about negatives or positive. Why? Because negative squared is going to be a positive anyways. So on the unit circle, tell me where the magnitudes are the same. Just the magnitudes. Oh.
The 2 pi, the 2 squared over
The square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. What angle is that? Pi over what?
30. Oh,
45 degrees,
sorry,
which is pi over what?
pi.
Yeah, pi over 4. So all the 1s over 4, guys. Do you see how we did it? All the 1s over 4, because at this coordinate here, negative square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Travis, I don't get it. Okay, let's talk about that. Sine squared, just real quick, 3 pi over 4.
It doesn't matter what numbers they have before them.
It does matter, but because of the squared, the negative is going to be canceled out anyways. So sine of 3 pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. So check it out. Square root of 2 over 2 squared, does it equal? Cosine of 3 pi over 4 is the negative square root of 2 over 2. Negative square root of 2 over 2 squared. Well, when I square that, square root of 2 squared is 2. 2 squared is 4. Equals negative times a negative is a positive. So again, I get 2 over 4, which, yeah, 1/2 does equal a half. Do you see that? What do you think, Gonzalez? Okay. So, yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. So on this one, guys, what I would do first, this is similar to 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 equals 0. Can you or can you not factor out? Because I have a 2x squared, I'm just going to go ahead and just do this really quick. There's only one way to get 2x squared, 2x and x. And now I'm thinking about that 4 there. There's 2 ways to get that 4, either 2 times 2 or 4 times 1. And it's going to be the 4 times 1. Why? Because I see a 9x there. So that means the 4 belongs here and the 1 belongs there. Chavez, how did you do that so fast? I saw the 2x. 2x times 4 gives me 8x. And 1 times x gives me 1x. 8x plus 1x is 9x. Does that make sense? Well, I can't hear you guys on YouTube, but that's if it didn't make sense, you can use the AC method, guys. All right, from there, since this is similar, that's how I'm going to factor that one out. So I'm going to write 2 sine x plus 1, and I'm going to write sine x plus 4 equals 0. I do not have to pay attention to that one because sine x will never be negative 4. Never. But this one I do have to focus on. So 2 sine x plus 1 will definitely equal 0. So now I'm going to move the 1 to the other side and divide by 2. So 2 sine x equals negative 1. Sine x equals negative half. This does happen. On the unit circle, and yes, I could use formulas, guys, but they're being nice to me. They're telling me between 0 and 2 pi. On the unit circle, sine x is negative half at these 2 locations. That one, the very first one, is 7 pi over 6, and this one is 11 pi over 6. So there it is. What do you guys think so far? Okay, so here we go. On this next one here, I'm going to factor this out. This is similar to 2x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. So how do we factor that out in algebra? 2x, x, and then equals 0, and then 1 and 1. And we just got to care about that it adds up to a 1. So let's see, 2x times 1 has 2x, and then subtract 1, there's 1x. So there it is, 2x minus 1, x plus 1. Both of them are going to be active, so this is the same. So here we go. 2 cosine x minus 1, cosine x plus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to write this one over here. Where does cosine x plus 1 equal 0? Wherever cosine x equals negative 1. That on the unit circle only happens at x equals pi. Now let's do this one. 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Why do I want it to equal 0? Because 0 times anything is 0. So where does 2 cosine x equals 1 divided by 2? Where does cosine x equal a half? Well, that on the unit circle happens at there and there, quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. That happens to be pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. So there it is. So look for those two and that one. Pi over 3, 5 pi over 3 pi. Good job. Not supposed to be a happy face. I just did it really quick. Question 10. These are actually pretty simple, guys. Don't get intimidated by it. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Cosine squared x equals 3 over 4. Square root, square root. Cosine x equals, the square root of 3 is, well, the square root of 3, leave it like that. Square root of 4 is 2 plus minus. See? On the unit circle, where is cosine plus minus square root of 3 over 2? Bam, 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 bam. All the ones under over 6. pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. Yeah. Alright, next one, I would move this cosine x to the left. Cosine squared x plus cosine x equals 0. So then I would factor out a cosine x. So then you're going to have cosine x plus 1. So both of these are going to give you answers, guys. Where is cosine x equal to 0? Look on the unit circle. Where am I looking at? Between 0 and 2 pi. They're being nice. At pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Now this one, cosine x plus 1 equals 0. Or is cosine x equal to negative 1? Cosine x equals negative 1 at pi. So there it is, guys. So pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and pi. Alright, let's go to the next one. Same thing again. Sine squared x. I'm going to move that sine x to the left. Minus sine x equals 0. Factor out of sine x. So you're going to get sine x minus 1 equals 0. So where does sine x equal 0? Well, in the unit circle, sine x is 0 at 0, pi, and 2 pi. But not including 2 pi. So x equals 0 and pi. Now let's do this one. Where does sine x minus 1 equal 0? Wherever sine x equals 1. And that happens at pi over 2. So there it is, straightforward. 0, pi over 2, and pi. Let's go to the next one. Alright, for these, I would work with cosine. So I would just take the reciprocal immediately. Keep the argument the same because you can't do anything about that. So the reciprocal secant is cosine. Cosine 2x equals, take the reciprocal of 2, equals a half. So then, here we go. 2x equals plus minus arc cosine of a half plus 2 pi n. Yeah, you can use your unit circle right here. But I'm going to use my formula here. So where is cosine a half? The very first one is at pi over 3. So 2x equals plus minus pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So x equals plus minus pi over 6 plus pi n. So that's going to give me all the pi over 6's. The positive pi over 6 plus pi n and the negative pi over 6 plus pi n. Chavez, what do you mean it's going to give you all the over 6's? Well, common denominator is 6 over 6, 6 over 6. So check it out. Pi over 6 is the very first answer. Then the next answer comes from the x2. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5 pi, so 5 pi over 6. And the next one comes from x1. 6 plus 1 is 7 pi. And then the next one comes from 5 pi over 6 plus 6 pi over 6, which is 11 pi. So there it is. All right. Let's do this one. So I'm going to go x plus, I'm just doing the arc sine right off the bat. Arc sine of square root of 2 over 2 plus 2 pi n. We're going to have two equations. x1 plus pi over 4 equals, this first one happens on the unit circle at pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. And the next one, I'm going to write x2 right here, guys, happens at 3 pi over 4. So x2 plus pi over 4 equals 3 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. Alright, so there it is. So I'm going to go back to x1. x1 equals, I'm moving the pi over 4 right there, negative pi over 4 plus pi over 4, so that's going to give you 0 plus 2 pi n. So x1 equals 0 plus 2 pi n. That's my general equation. Let's do the next one. x2 equals negative pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. x2 equals negative pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4. That's going to be 2 pi over 4, which reduces to 2 pi over 4 reduces to pi over 2. So pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. So x2 equals pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. And there weren't all the answers between 0 and 2 pi. So just pi over 2. 0 and 2 and pi over 2. So 0 and pi over 2. Oh, what happened?
I literally only used this lesson to get all of them.
Oh. So here we go. On this one here, we're going to do the inverse sine. So I'm going to write x over 2 minus pi over 6 equals inverse sine a half. So you already know we're going to do the same thing we did last time. I'm going to have two equations again. So x1 over 2 minus pi over 6 equals, on the unit circle, where is sine a half? At pi over 6. So pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. And I'm going to write the second equation down here, guys. x2 over 2 minus pi over 6 equals, what's the next one? It's this one right there. That is going to be 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. Let's see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to go back to x1. Move that negative pi over 6 right there. x1 over 2 equals pi over 6 plus pi over 6 is going to be 2 pi over 6, which reduces to pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. And I'm going to multiply everything by 2. x1 equals 2 pi over 3 plus 4 pi n. And I believe my domain was 0 to pi. So my answer right there on that one is just going to be the 2 pi over 3. And I'm going to do the same thing here on this one. So x2 over 2 equals 5 pi over 6 plus pi over 6 is going to be a whole pi plus 2 pi n times 2. So x2 is going to be 2 pi plus 4 pi n. So this is my general equation, but the 2 pi can't be an answer because I'm already above that pi there. So my only answer is 2 pi over 3. So there it is. All right, we're doing good timing, I think. We're going a little fast, so maybe rewind this and see what's up. So here we go. I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. So sine 4x minus pi over 6 equals a negative square root of 2 over 2. I'm going to take the inverse sine. So I'm going to write 4x minus pi over 6 equals arc sine of negative square root of 2 over 2 plus 2 pi n. And you can use your formula here if you want, but I'm going to choose to continue to use my unit circles because these are perfect coordinates. So where are my negative square root of 2 over 2? In quadrant 3 and in quadrant 4. So in quadrant 3, here's my first equation. 4x1 minus pi over 6 equals, in quadrant 3, that's going to be 5 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. And in quadrant 4, I'm going to write it down here on that one. I'm going to write 4x2 minus pi over 6 equals 7 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. All right, here we go, guys. I'm going to go back to equation 1. I'm going to move the negative pi over 6 to the right. So 4x1 equals pi over 6 plus 5 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. And I'm kind of tempted to find a common denominator. So what's the common denominator between 6 and 4? 4, 8, 12. 12. So I'm going to multiply this one by 2 over 2 and this one by 3 over 3. So here we go. 4x1 equals 2 pi over 12 plus 15 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n. 4x1 equals 15 plus 2, that's 17 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n. Now I divide everything by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. x1 equals 17 pi over 12, 24, 48 plus pi n over 2. Now remember, your domain was between 0 and pi over 2. So that pi plus pi over 2 is not going to be an answer. One of my answers is going to be 17 pi over 48. What I mean by not going to be an answer is I'm not going to add pi over 2 to that. All right, let's go to the next one over here. Don't forget about that one. Plus pi over 6. So 4x2 equals pi over 6 plus 7 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. So again, we're doing the same thing, guys. I'm going to multiply this guy by 2 over 2, this one by 3 over 3. So I'm going to have 4x2. Why did I do that? To get a common denominator. 2 pi over 12 plus 7 times 3, 7, 14, 21. 21 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n. So now I'm going to have 4x2 equals 21 plus 2, 23 pi over 12 plus 2 pi n. And I'm going to finally divide everything by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. So x2 equals 23 pi, 12 times 12, 24, 48. Plus pi n over 2. You're not going to use the pi n over 2. That's my general equation. So one answer is 23 pi over 48, and the other one is 17 pi over 48. So there it is. Yeah, that one was tough. Tough as in there was a lot to write. But you guys can do it. You guys are smart. Okay. You can do it, miss.
This example that you have on the board was when sine had the square, right?
Yes.
So you can use that same thing for like all of the sine square.
Yep. If it looks exactly the same, just look at the domain though.
Okay, but then in the calculator,
Don't worry. We're almost done here. I can look at it right now. So I'm going to divide both by two guys here. So I have cosine 4x minus pi over 3 equals square root of 3 over 2. And we're continuing with the theme. I'm going to use my unit circle here. Square root of 3 over 2 at pi over 6 there. So 4x minus pi over 3 equals plus minus arc cosine of square root of 3 over 2, which you could have just written pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. So 4x minus pi over 3 equals plus minus pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. Move that negative pi over 3 right there. So 4x equals pi over 3 plus pi over 6 plus minus 2 pi n. And I'm going to turn that 3 there. I'm going to multiply it by 2 over 2. So I have 4x equals 2 pi over 6 plus minus pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. So here we go. 4x1 equals, add them together. 2 pi plus 1 pi is 3 pi. 3 pi over 6 is pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. x1 equals pi over 8 plus pi n over 2. All right, let's do the next one. 4x2 equals, I'm going to subtract 2 pi over 6 minus pi over 6. That's pi over 6 plus 2 pi n. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. x2 equals pi over 28 plus pi n over 2. So since my domain is between 0 and pi over 2, you're not going to use the pi over 2n. This is my general, this is my general. One answer is pi over 8, the other answer is pi over 28. Ooh. Okay, 6 times 4 is not 28. How come you guys didn't fix me? 6 times 4 is 24. 6, 12, 24. So there it is. Sorry for the mistake, guys. Forgive me. Don't give me a thumbs down, please. I guess you can if you want, but I would like a thumbs up if possible. All right, this one here, factor out of 9. Sine squared x plus 2 sine x plus 1 equals 0. Oh, I think it's always going to go in for question 18. Yeah, so check it out. So go to it. I bet you it is. So it's part of the programming. And then on this one, I'm just kind of, is there a number that when you multiply gives you 1 but adds up to 2? Yes, 1 and 1. So 9 parentheses sine x plus 1, close, open, sine x plus 1, close, equals 0. So you can just solve for one of them. Sine x plus 1 equals 0. Where does sine x equals negative 1? On the unit circle, that happens down here. Where am I looking at? Between negative pi and pi. Negative pi is here, so if I go clockwise, counterclockwise, that'll be a negative pi over 2, so negative pi over 2. And that's it, because you're only looking between there, and you're going back to pi. Yep, cool. Oh, you always start at negative pi, and you work your way towards the pi one. So here's negative pi, and then I work my way towards pi. So you're going counterclockwise. You're always going to go counterclockwise because you go left to right. What's up?
In this situation, it's negative pi and pi, but if it was like a different...
Like 0 to 2 pi?
Yes.
Then you would say 3 pi over 2.
3 pi over 2.
Okay, that's the one down there. That's this one. Ooh, look at this one. This one looks hard. Let's see. Don't worry, we're almost done. We just got 2 left.
I'm going to do this one again.
Okay. It's arc sine. Pi x plus pi over 7. I don't like when they do 1/7 pi, but that's fine. Equals arc sine of 1 plus 2 pi n. There's only one answer on the unit circle where sine is 1. There, are you happy, miss? Okay. And do you love math? Be strong, miss. You know you got this. All right, here we go. Arc sine of 1 is pi over 2. Right? And then I'm just going to move this to the right. Pi x equals negative pi over 7 plus pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. And then I'm tempted to do common denominator. It doesn't look like any number fits other than 14. So times 2 over 2 times 7 over 7. So I'm going to get pi x equals negative 2 pi over 14 plus 7 pi over 14 plus 2 pi n. So pi x equals, what's that, 5 pi over 14 plus 2 pi n? Divide by pi, divide by pi, divide by pi. So x equals 5 over 14 plus 2n, because the pi's cancel out right here. So because my domain is between negative 1/7 and 6/7, looks like 5/14 has to be my only answer, because plus 2 will take me outside the domain. Subtract 2 will take me outside the domain as well. So 5/14 is the only answer. All right, last one. Finally. So here we go. This is similar to 4x squared minus 9x plus 5 equals 0. So let's see if we can find our factors here. So there's only one way to get 5, 1 and 5. So let's see. I need to add up to a 9. Okay, so then that means this has to be, let's see, if we do 2x, don't write this down, just listen. If we do 2x, 2 times 5 is 10, 1 times 2 is 2, and the difference between 10 and 2 is 8, and I do not have an 8, so it is not 2x and 2x. I am forced to do 4x and x. Now this one cannot be 4x, because 4 times 5 is 20, and you don't want that big number, so the 4x has to be here, and the x has to be there. So let's see, x times 5 is 5, 1 times 4 is 4, and 5 and 4 adds up to 9, so there it is, and they're both negative. So that means the same thing with this, guys. So I'm going to write it as sine x minus 1, 4 sine x minus 5 equals 0. So now, I'm going to write, where is sine x minus 1 equal to 0? Well, that happens wherever sine x is 1. And on the unit circle, that is at x equals pi over 2. Now let's look at this one. So 4 sine x equals 5 divided by 4 divided by 4. Sine x will never be 5/4 because 5/4 is a number bigger than 1. So pi over 2 seems to be the only answer, guys. All right, there it is. We finished the whole quiz. It is kind of lengthy. It took us a while, but you guys can do it too. Hook it up with a thumbs up, guys. Well, if you want to, of course. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.